Hello, once again, it's Damon with another video. Today, I will decide I will do another rebooking video and rebooking SummerSlam 2006, aka We're Getting Old, because it's 20 years ago on this one. And I thought, what could I do to book this show? Again, like last time, I think from now on, I'll give you a little bit of a basically behind the look or behind not behind the scene of basically how it's going on, not just in movies, but basically around my life. Basically, I remember this. It's 20 years ago. Basically, it was 2 years after I started my bachelor's degree, continuing school, basically working my butt off. And basically, at that time, I do remember I was recovering from basically just a an incident requiring my immediate attention. I had recovered, and it's a fact I'm thankful and grateful. It's been 20 years since that, and I'm fine and damn good. In fact, in better shape than I used to be. So, yeah, and that I'm very happy about. I'm very grateful. And do remember the movie theaters at that time? There was X-Men 3. I was looking forward so much to see X-Men 3. It was one of the biggest blockbuster movies. There was Superman Returns. Remember, Bryan Singer preferred to do Superman Returns rather than X-Men 3. Was done given back to Brett Ratner, otherwise known as the Rush Hour guy, the Rush Hour director. At that time, I thought X Superman Returns might have been more well directed, but X-Men 3 is X-Men 3. And you have Hugh Jackman, Halle Berry, Kelsey Grammer's Beast. You have Daniel Ramirez. Who else? You had Sarah McKellen, Patrick Stewart, Famke Janssen. I mean, many people were in that movie. There was Willie Jones as Juggernaut. You think, what goes wrong? Oh, Ben Foster as Angel. He probably gonna end up doing something very relevant to plot. Oh, wait, he doesn't. Well, while being all over the trailers. You had Anna Paquin as Rogue, who's just limited to, she barely does any action. She's just being jealous of Kitty Pryde. And eventually, all she does in the whole movie is, should I take the the cure? And she, spoiler, she does. That's all she does. You know, Pyro turns evil, and basically, it's the Dark Phoenix saga. It's actually the better of the two movies, live action X-Men movie about the Dark Phoenix saga. It went from 2 hours 20 minutes for X-Men 2 to an hour 40 minutes of this one. So you know it's gonna be worse than the second one. And worse it was. It's not X-Men Origins bad, and it sure as an X-Men Dark Phoenix bad, but it's not really good. I went to see it twice. I don't remember the reason why I saw it twice. I think once was I went to see it by myself. The other time I went to see it with a friend. And both times I went underwhelmed. But none as well underwhelmed as Superman Returns. That movie can be clarified with 3 Zs because it made me want to sleep. Everybody say he was a good Superman. Brandon Routh was a good Superman. He was. But here's the thing. He barely did anything. And every time he saved something, Kryptonite took him down right away. So yeah, those the two big blockbuster movies of that were hyped up for that summer happened to be below average movies. Then you had other movies I didn't expect much. Da Vinci Code, which I felt well again with Sarah McKellen. That summer, it was his summer because you had this, X-Men 3, and Flushed Away. And it was, looking back, the best of the trilogy of Dan Brown. But I thought that Dan Brown's book as well is mostly about. It's not really about the mystery. It's not about the characters. It's about figuring out the puzzle. And the moment you do, you don't feel as inclined to reread the book. Same thing with the movie. You saw it once or twice, and I don't need to see it. Angel and Demons, not bad. Was not as good as the first one, but still pretty fun. Inferno, I saw it. That's all I'll say. I saw it. And yeah, so I thought maybe, looking back, maybe the best movie of that whole summer was Talladega Nights, which was pretty good. It was still hilarious. But you remember that Anchorman was better than that, and I thought, man, it's kind of a if 2004 summer in terms of movie was like cooking, this movie felt like the microwave leftovers. If you get my drift. So yeah, those are the movies I remember from that summer. But in terms of wrestling, it was the first year that RVD won the Money in the Bank match at WrestleMania 22. He cashed in at one night stand in a scene that was saying, if Cena wins, we riot. And he won the title. It still kind of bothers me that he didn't win it kind of by himself, but under ECW rules, he won it fair and square. Now, 2 weeks after he won it, I think it was an incident that happened, and I think he lost it like not one. He lost it like a month after this, and never got a W title shot again. And I could see that. I could see him then pushing the W title again, but you couldn't give him the ECW title again afterwards. That is some major BS. As far as King Booker, he was World Heavyweight Champion after winning King of the Ring, and I thought Booker T finally had a real World Heavyweight title reign. It just took him to turn heel and add up a new gimmick rather than being the WCW version of the People's Champ of Booker T, which it's cool, but isn't it? Rey Mysterio won the Rumble and won the world title. So, but by that time in the summer, basically he was shuffled out of the world title picture, and Batista came back, and just because he says I'm Batista, I'm here, they give him world title shots, which I explained in the CM Punk Sami Zayn video that nobody wants to remember. Nobody recalls that the moment Batista comes back, oh my God, he gets title shot. And people, by the way, people complaining about the same thing. Like I said, complain about Zayn winning the WWE title, are the same one complaining about CM Punk winning title, calling him CM Hogan, who are the same ones who complain when Sami Zayn beat Carmelo Hayes to win the US title earlier this year. They're fickle, okay? They're just looking for a reason to complain. Because guess what? They attribute so much importance to wrestling and they don't know how to prioritize things in life. Okay? It's one thing to criticize wrestling your booking decision. And I do it too. But in the end of the day, it's a predetermined show. Okay? Like, calm down. But yeah, in terms of WWE, you have Big Show winning the ECW title. I'm not against the decision of Big Show winning the ECW title at that time, but it shouldn't have been that long of a reign. Especially all he did was being, if you remember, he was switching. He went over to SmackDown, ECW, like feuding with Undertaker on SmackDown. He went feuding with DX on Raw, but we're barely really featured on ECW only, and I would have rectified that. So to me, we need to reach out and look at basically the card for SummerSlam 2006 in principle before we even go into details of what I would do. First, we have basically what our first match was Rey Mysterio with Chavo Guerrero. Oh boy, all the mighty have fallen since WrestleMania 22. You went from being World Heavyweight Champion the month before to curtain jerking against Chavo and losing. How about ECW title match? Big Show Sabu. Sabu was basically caught with RVD, yet somehow, some reason, they didn't really punish Sabu as much as RVD. How about Hogan vs. Orton? Sure, Hogan did not kick out the RKO brother, but he still won, and he still pinned somebody he shouldn't have had. How about Flair vs. Foley? Again, I was always finding the Foley heel promos that maybe been hilarious, especially when you say he was going to stink up the joint with Flair. But that's no business being on the card. Booker T and Batista, I understand the reason, but it was a kind of a boring match. You have DX vs. McMahon's. I get the reason why you can't have DX and his Spirit Squad be involved, but seeing Lashley, Finlay, Kane, Umaga all involved made me seem like you couldn't find something else for these guys to do and have an actual match. And then you have Cena versus Edge, which is the only match where I felt like Edge well that SummerSlam. Plus, no titles change hands. I mentioned it to you many, many times. If no title change on a big time pay-per-view, it pretty much says your pay-per-view was pointless. Unless it's SummerSlam, unless it's Survivor Series composed of mostly elimination matches, or the Royal Rumble, apart from those two pay-per-views, and as long as basically most of the cards are like Rumble match or Survivor Series style match, if you don't take him out, if your pay-per-view has no title change, congratulations. Unless your gimmick pay-per-view, your pay-per-view was useless. So let's rectify this card. Now, the Cruiserweight title wasn't on the line. It'll be now. Because in the Cruiserweight title match, we would have, in this case, Gregory Helms defend and retain. We can have him retain over Super Crazy. How about, in this case, the tag titles? Let's have a rematch. Let's have have Lundrick, Paul London, and Brian Kendrick defend and keep the titles over the Pitbulls. Have like a 16-minute match between the two, just having them steal the show and have London Kendrick win. You could have Gregory Helms win with basically it was the combo of uh, Nightmare on Elm Street and his Shining Wizard for the 1, 2, 3. Then, if you want to have Rey Mysterio versus Chavo, you can, but I don't know. I will actually have Rey win this one because I thought it was kind of disrespectful. He lost right away. So yeah, for the ECW title, you got have Big Show versus Sabu versus RVD, and you can have Sabu to do his face busters, basically a top rope face buster with a chair. Then, as he goes for the cover, 5-star frog splash, springboard 5-star from RVD, and he wins the ECW title properly this time around. Then, for the United States title, you would have basically Finlay defending against Bobby Lashley, against Mr. Kennedy, and against Matt Hardy. And in this case, Mr. Kennedy wins this match, and he wins the US title. For the women's title, because this wasn't defended, you would have, in this case, Mickie James. Mickie James in real life lost it like 1 or 2 weeks before SummerSlam. In this case, she would retain it, and she would lose it at SummerSlam against Lita right there and there in the 6th match of the night. Then, you would have Hulk Hogan team up with Ric Flair and team up with Terry Funk against Randy Orton, Mick Foley, plus you could have basically in this case, try and see who was in the roster there could fit. You could have Chris Masters. In that case, you could have Chris Masters being there, and eventually Chris Masters just there to take the fall. So you would have basically Ric Flair give a low blow, Terry Funk gives a chair shot, Hogan does a leg drop on Chris Masters, 1, 2, 3. So Orton and Foley are basically protected, but Chris Masters isn't. Then, for the Intercontinental title, you would have John Morrison or John Nitro at that point against Carlito, against Shelton Benjamin. Basically, you would have Carlito versus Shelton Benjamin versus John Morrison. John Morrison finds a way to pin Shelton Benjamin to keep his title. Then you would have in a Battle of Monster, Undertaker and Kane team up to take on Great Khali Umaga. And in this case, since Umaga's supposed to be undefeated, Umaga was still undefeated. Umaga's taken on the outside, double choke slam on Great Khali by Taker and Kane. The Brother of Destruction's winning. Now we're getting close to the end of the card for the World Heavyweight title. You do have, in this case, Booker T defending against Batista. And Batista would not win. He would win he wouldn't win the title there, he would win by count. That's fine. Then you have DX, and they would team up. Wait, would they team up? No, sorry, they want to team up with DX versus the McMahons, and this is where the Spirit Squad can interfere, but just a Spirit Squad. But as a nod to the past, I would have basically Gerald Briscoe and Pat Patterson interfere to counter the Spirit Squad, leaving DX and McMahon, and DX wins. And for W title, it's Cena versus Edge versus Cena, and Edge successfully retained the title against John Cena. I was thinking about getting Test a match to get him a win, but that could happen too. But that would be my SummerSlam 2006 card. Let me know what you feel in the comments down below. Catch you guys later. Peace.